welcome back to Madness in the Method, the Nicolas Cage podcast, where we take a deep dive into the career of one of our most prolific actors, in modern days at least. And with me, as always, is my friend and trusted co-host, Christopher.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. And in this episode, we are discussing a movie called Zandalee, which I had never heard of before. And honestly, I almost thought we were going to have to cancel this episode because I could barely find it online to watch. I don't know how did you have trouble finding it, Christopher?
I actually didn't start looking because you wrote to me. Have you trouble finding it? And I haven't started looking, and then you sent me a link. I found it. So
okay.
I guess so. It was very easy for me, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah. This seems to be a lot of those movies, but this one was particularly hard to find. It took a while. I mean, we're kind of geographically restricted because we live in Sweden, so if we lived in America, sure, we could just rent it on Amazon. But that's impossible unless you have a VPN, and even then it doesn't always work. So I was like, maybe we'll just have to skip this one. But eventually I found it. And I gotta say, I was a little troubled at first, because if you just Google Zandalee full movie, you get a lot of adult entertainment sites at first. I was like, huh? Okay.
I gotta say, though, because I did look into it a little bit after, just because you said it was so hard to find.
Yeah.
It is pretty easy to find if you're not living in Sweden.
Yes, exactly.
To be fair. Because, I mean, you could rent it on Amazon,
yes,
Google Play, and I think it was like 2 other places, but none of them are available to us.
So. Yes, so yes, I guess if you live in Sweden, it's going to be hard for you. If you live, I guess, outside of Europe, it's fine.
Yeah, I think Boy in Blue was harder.
Yeah, that's true.
Internationally to find.
Yes. Okay, fair enough. But this one was the most interesting to find because of all the other websites that came up. And I was like, what am I getting into here? But I gotta say, it's quite fitting actually for this movie.
Yeah.
Because it is it's a what did you say it was an erotic thriller or / romantic
or
tragedy?
Erotic thriller or romantic tragedy.
Yeah,
was what I found when I looked it up, which I think was one way to describe it, I guess.
Yeah, I would, like I told you, I would call it an erotic tragedy because it wasn't really a thriller.
No,
more of a tragedy.
Yeah.
But quickly, it's Zandalee, directed by Sam Pillsbury, written by Mary Kornhauser, and it stars Nicolas Cage, obviously, Erika Anderson, and Judge Reinhold, which was a lot of fun to see. And it's a movie about Judge Reinhold, who plays a man called Thierry Martin,
yes,
who is married to the character Zandalee, played by Erika Anderson. And on Imdb it says, Terry's wife Zandalee married the poet he once was. Taking over his dad's company in New Orleans gives him stress and impotence. Terry meets his high school buddy Johnny, played by Nicolas Cage, at a bachelor party. The painter Johnny can satisfy Zandalee. And I don't know, because we briefly mentioned that in the last episode, and I got the feeling, just from reading that, maybe I just skimmed through it, that it was going to be like a sort of like an indecent proposal kind of movie. That Judge Reinhold would be like, I can't satisfy my wife. You must help me, Nicolas Cage. But no, I'm so conflicted about this. But it's not that at all.
That's not what happens at all.
No,
it is more just she's cheating. Having an affair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just regular cheating. Like, oh no, but she's torn about it, and Nicolas Cage is just an asshole.
Yeah. So this movie, it had just quickly mentioning, there's a lot of interesting characters in this movie, actors.
Great actors in it. Yeah.
Steve Buscemi, Marissa Tomei, Ian Abercrombie, someone else I was thinking of. The friend. I don't know what he's called. Zandalee's friend.
Oh, Joe Pantoliano. I don't remember what the character is called, but
yeah. So there's a lot of good actors in this.
Oh yeah. That surprised me the most because when I started watching, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a really good movie." But I don't know.
Yeah, so I did read up a little on this movie, and apparently, which I think it explains some things.
Okay.
So it is a screenplay by Marie Kornhauser, but it's on Wikipedia at least it says it steals liberally from a French book from the 1860s.
Okay.
And I think that explains some things, because this movie has a big problem of never explaining anyone's motivations and thought process.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, it's throughout the entire movie. It feels like, why is this happening? Why are you doing this? In what way?
Yeah, it's all very thinly explained. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this could work better as a movie if we know what people are thinking.
Yeah. But honestly, like the best way to explain it, it's like a soft core pornography.
Yeah.
Because the story is very light, and basically every scene that Nicolas Cage is in, he has sex with Eric Anderson.
Yeah. I mean,
and
I would go so far to say that this is a movie representation, actual movie representation of one of those smut novels.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah.
This I would say,
call it in Sweden.
Yeah, this is, I would say, a better representation of a smut novel than like 50 Shades of Grey's movie, the movie is.
Oh yes.
Because this actually just has a lot of like sex, and is not I don't know. It just happens. It's never like in the front line, or it's just not in the spotlight. It just happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and we basically see everything but penetration. So
yeah,
and I don't know which version I saw. There's supposed to be an unrated version, but I don't know if I want to see that. There was enough stuff to see in this one. And I mean, I don't mind that at all, but I would like some story in a movie.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's an hour and 40, and the actual story doesn't really kick off until like 40 minutes in, when Judge Reinhold starts suspecting that his wife is being unfaithful.
Yeah, and even then, there's barely a story.
Oh yeah, because he keeps beating around the bush. He's not talking about it. He's just like slyly mentioning it to her and to other people, and then it's just cuts to Nicolas Cage and Eric Anderson having sex, and she's being remorseful, and he's being angry, and then we go back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, it's like
happens.
It's sort of like the same. Well, at least in a script point of view, the same scene just over and over and over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like 3 scenes. Like Nicolas Cage says, "Hey, we should have sex." Erika says no. Then they have sex. Then she is remorseful. Says, "Oh, we shouldn't have sex." And then we cut to Judge Reinhold says, "Well, I think she's having sex with someone." And then we do that again for like 6 or 8 times.
Yeah. And then
we have the ending.
Yeah, and then they start introducing Judge Reinhold's, is it grandma who's in the movie? Or great grandma?
I think it's his mother, I think.
Oh, his mother maybe, yeah.
Because I think that's also a thing that they sort of start a story, but no, that... Because I think it's his mother, and then she confides into Zandalee to say, "Oh, I have a new one, a new guy, even though my husband, so Judge Reinhold's father, just died just a year ago." And then they say, "Well, we should just have a dinner together."
Yeah.
We should have a dinner, and then they have it, and that's it. That's that conflict.
Yeah, it's and I felt like that was supposed to be like that's she's played by Vivica Lindfors, a Swedish actress, and her new dude is played by Ian Abercrombie, Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld. And I felt like that was supposed to be like a metaphor for, it's that you're able to have a healthy relationship even though you're being unfaithful or something. But it never goes anywhere because he's in like 3 scenes and then he's gone and they don't really mention it anymore. She kind of disappears from the movie as well, and until the end, when there's the whole after Judge Reinhold dies or kind of kills himself by
sort of
willfully drowning or like refusing to get help out of the water and just disappears.
Just to correct myself, it is Terry's grandmother. It is not mother.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Then there's like 20 minutes left of the movie, and then it started giving me like Time to Kill vibes, because first of all, after he dies, the little clothing store that Zandalee runs gets infested by ants. Which is that whole, it's a sign of things going bad, and she starts having like so it's only in one scene, but they mention that it's happened more. Like she starts having stomach aches, and she's standing in front of a church and like being all fatalistic and like, oh my god, what's happening? And Nicolas Cage starts painting himself completely black and screaming, "Black it all out! Black it out! Black it out!" Like he doesn't want to remember what happened, and they're all like suffering both mentally and physically, because they were all kind of involved in him dying, or at least him not being rescued. And when they say like, "Oh, the store's infested with ants," and Joe Pantoliano says, "I'll go get some whatever ant repellent." And Viveka Lindfors just looks at Eric Anderson and just, no, I'll go. Like she doesn't want to look at her anymore. And I thought that was good, but that's just the last 10 minutes before the credits start rolling. And in that time, they also managed to kill Eric Anderson out of nowhere. She gets shot. Like, oh, she's the only one who really paid for the sins? That's not fair. What about Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, I mean, that entire, like, last, 30 to 40 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, when they're in the bayou up until the end.
Yeah, what's going on? It was just, the entire sequence, I could not understand at all.
It was like they realized that, shit, we didn't really tell the story. Alright, well, just tell it now. Supercharge it.
Yeah, so... just to explain what happened. So we have these 8 scenes or 4 scenes that I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
It just repeats throughout the entire movie. That's
literally what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then at the sort of the end, Judge Reinhold comes out and more or less they have a talk. Terry comes out and talks to Zandalee about this, and they have this sort of metaphorical, but also kind of a grown-up conversation about it, where they both say, "Yeah, I'm sorry," to each other, and say, "We did badly. I'm not gonna forgive you, but we can work on it," more or less.
Yeah.
And then they mutually decided we just go away for the weekend and just sort of rebuild this relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Terry mentioned this to Johnny, and I have no idea if he does this on purpose or not, because it seems sort of like it, because he mentioned it to Johnny, and then Terry and Zandalee go and have this nice afternoon, and then they stop by at a bar out in the bayou to buy some beer, and Johnny's there, and Terry doesn't at all seem surprised, really.
No, yeah, it's really weird.
So it's just that, okay, so did he sort of plan this? Did he know that Johnny was going to come here because he's so obsessed, or what's going on? Because Terry definitely says, we're going to this specific place in the bayou. You know the place where we played as kids.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then he sort of, you can join us. And nobody really knows what's going on at this point. Of all three, it feels like.
And he's
Zandalee, Terry, Johnny. Nobody really knows what's happening.
No, yeah, and Terry isn't even really sure that it is Johnny who has been sleeping with Zandalee, right?
I think
he kind of knows, but it hasn't been actually said.
Yeah, I think he knows, but he has no proof.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say. But then we have this weird, outside of the bar, this weird thing where it almost feels like Terry tries to have a threesome with them all. It says like, yeah, Johnny can join.
Yeah.
We can do this together. There's place for everyone, with this sly smile.
Yeah.
And then they started to do, then Johnny and Terry do a waltz.
Yeah.
For some odd reason.
I like that waltz because it almost felt like an artsy fartsy representation of a fist fight. And, hey, that's something at least.
Yeah, it sort of was, because they had this sort of flexing against each other while waltzing.
Yeah.
We're just sort of trying to break out of the
being
what do you call
the female role in the dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Terry brings out a gun, acting crazy. Then they go for a ride, and
yeah, he aims it at everyone, including himself. But then he just shoots into the water, and then let's go.
Yeah, and then they go on a boat, and then he falls off the boat. Terry falls off the boat, and then just decides to die.
Yeah. Zandalee mentions that he's stuck in the water lilies, and she jumps after him, but he doesn't even try to.
Is that what she said? I didn't hear what she said.
Yeah. So that's why he doesn't get up. But then when they try to help him, he just no! And even bites Johnny when he tries to get him out of there, and then he just sinks.
Because okay, that explains. Because I was thinking, you can't just willfully drown. You can't just.
No, that's very hard. Unless you have weights on you or something.
If he sort of tangles himself into the lilies on purpose, I mean that works, I guess.
Yeah.
But
maybe he just oh shit, I'm stuck. All right, might as well.
Yeah, sort of. And so that whole thing is just, I didn't understand what's going on. Again, it could have worked great if we know what Terry was thinking.
Yeah,
because it feels like he had a plan. He knew what he was doing, but we were not informed of what that was.
No, yeah. And I'm trying to think.
And then
was he trying to be prove himself better than Johnny, or to win back Zandalee, or but she wasn't really in love with Johnny. It was just
no.
It was just because of Terry's impotence that she had a moment of passion with Johnny once, and he gets obsessed.
Yeah, and there was a few times throughout the movies where not sure, it was a gray zone if it was rape or not. Several times throughout the movie. I'd
say when they're in the church, in the confession booth, very edgy. That was definitely rape.
Yeah, but there are a lot of points before that where she clearly says no, but and she looks like she's in pain, but she acts like she enjoyed it afterwards, and it's very much gray zones. But there's one moment, I think, or maybe two, where she actually wants it.
Yeah,
when it's a clear case that she wants it, or I mean, they both want it, I guess.
When it's consensual, 100% consensual.
Yeah. So yeah. Because I was thinking, first, as I said, I thought Terry was trying to get some kind of weird chasing Amy threesome thing.
Yeah.
Like, we should just all have sex, because that will fix the problem. That was my first thought. But then, when they were in the boat, I was feeling like, oh, he's going somewhere to just kill them both? Or something?
Yeah.
Or he's gonna drive, he's gonna kill all of them? I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of what made the ending at least a little exciting. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, whoa! But I mean, it wasn't enough because the first. I mean, I watched it pretty late last night, so I kind of fell in and out of sleep while watching it. So it took me a long time to get through the first 40 minutes. So maybe just because of that, that it felt like it was so long. But I mean,
even so, the story, like we said, doesn't really start until 40 minutes in. You usually try to start the movie off in about 20 minutes, so you can actually have some movie left to tell the story. But here they chose not to. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and as you talked about, then after that Baju encounter, I guess.
Yeah.
We have like 15 to 20 minutes of just meandering about and nothing really happens, and then Zandalee dies and the movie's over.
Yeah.
She dies from like a stray bullet from a drug dealer who has sort of said that Johnny owes him money like twice in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of what's it called? Answering machine messages in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a badly told movie.
Yeah. Yeah, the story in and of itself isn't terrible. It was just poorly told, yeah.
Yeah, we just didn't understand it.
It could have been pretty interesting. The dynamics between these three characters and how you handle a situation like this. And even more interesting if it would have been that Thierry was kind of the one who instigated the whole thing. Like I thought he would. But that's not part of the story, so I can't really fault them for that.
Yeah, and I mean, it could also be work because since Terry is an old poet, he talks in poetry a few times throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And that could have been great if he had this thing where he just talks to himself in poetry, so we can have a more direct way into his mind of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think both Zandalee and Johnny, it's pretty open and shut what they want and what their motivations are, and so it's what they want.
Yeah.
But just Terry is a mystery, and I don't understand it, and I hate it.
No, because he at first it feels like he's going to be the main character, but I guess he isn't. But still, we, you want to know more about him, and he's the one that has the most going on. I mean, he is the poet who had to take a job at his father's firm, and now he's a working man and not an artist anymore, and that's why he's feeling this pressure and why he's experiencing impotence, and that's kind of the the instigating incident or whatever it's called in the movie, and that's why he feels more like the main character. And if only he had more of an arc, maybe that would have fixed the movie. I don't know, or at least helped. And it would have been fun to see Judge Reinhold act some more.
Yeah,
he's kind of like flat in this one because he's kind of like a sidelined character.
But he is one of those actors, we talked about it before, one of those actors you just enjoy watching act.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what he does, even if you want more of him, he didn't get to act that much, it's still fun to watch.
Sure, yeah. I really only know him from the Beverly Hills Cop movies. He's been in some other stuff. I mean, he was in the Nicolas Cage movie before this,
Fast Times.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So
we have gone back to that movie a few times. It's almost like we should have watched it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a Patreon exclusive episode where we'll talk about Fast Times. Yeah, because he's really only in like 2 scenes. So, but I mean, this was the first time I saw him like properly acting, I think. So I'd like to check out his filmography a little more.
I think I know him best from both, Beverly Hills Cop, obviously, but also the Santa Claus. He's in that one.
He's the new.
I think in all of them, actually.
The new husband, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I've seen him in some other things also. I know that I like him. I've seen him in some things. He's been guest starring in a lot of shows that I watched, like Seinfeld and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's the close talker in Seinfeld. Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. He's a lot of one episode of TV shows he's done, like King of Queens, Monk, The Dead Zone.
Oh
The
yeah. He's the teacher who wants to do a Kwanzaa Christmas show instead of a Christian Christmas show. Yeah. Huh.
So you see, you have seen him in a lot of things. Just forget it.
Exactly. Yeah, and now I want to check him out more. Yeah.
Yeah, but every time you see him, you say, "Oh, that's that guy. I like him."
Yeah. Also, I don't have it in front of me, but was he involved in like producing the movie as well? Because I thought I saw his name. Let's see if I can find it somewhere.
Producer. I don't know. I have no idea actually. Yeah, he's co-producer.
Exactly, because it was like a blah 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 and Reinhold company production or something. So. Yeah,
he's a co-producer.
Huh. So I guess this maybe this was like a passion project of his. Unfortunate.
Oh yeah. So yeah, there's not much to talk about this movie because it doesn't nothing happens.
Nothing happens. Yeah.
Except a lot of nudity.
A lot of nudity
from Zandalee and. No, there's a lot of nudity from other characters.
Oh yeah, too. Nicolas Cage as well. You even there's a blink and you miss it. Cock and balls shot from him.
Oh, so I guess I blinked and missed it.
Yes, very good. Because I was watching, it was like, oh, okay. I had to go back and look. Yes, there it is. Okay. Otherwise, they're pretty good. Even though it's supposed to be an erotic movie, they're pretty good at hiding the private parts, except for breasts, I suppose. But you caught it.
Yeah, there's some scenes at like a sex club and things like that too. So.
Oh yeah, the whole bachelor party. Yeah.
No. They when Zandalee goes with her friend to a sex club.
Oh right, sure, yeah, with Joe Pantoliano.
So yeah, there's a lot of nudity.
There is, yes.
Yeah.
But then
there's a lot of. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, you go first.
I was also gonna say there's also a lot of weird characters who just appear and disappear throughout the movie.
Yeah, Steve Buscemi.
Like Steve Buscemi is he just runs into the scene like 4 times and then runs out.
Yeah, and at first I thought he was gonna be like the god character, the Deus Ex Machina character.
Yeah,
but he doesn't really do anything. He sort of is like, I don't know, judging Zandalee at the end when they're standing by Thierry's grave, but not really. Yeah. I don't really see the point of his character. He didn't really bring anything to it. It was fun to see him in the movie, but I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, and the same with Marissa Tomei.
Oh, yeah.
Also just there and being annoying for 3 minutes.
Yeah, and at this point... Okay, no, I was going to say, at this point, she was already like a household name, but because of My Cousin Vinny, but that was the year after. So, she was still just girl in movies at this point. But still, it's like... Yeah, she plays the quote-unquote girlfriend of Johnny in one scene, and then in one answering machine message. That's it. And she's gone. And she's not called Remy, she's called Raimi.
Yeah, of course.
That's all we get about her. So, and there's like nothing, there's not that much stuff you can find about the behind the scenes stuff, other than Nicolas Cage being a little too method in this movie, which I thought he stopped being method after Wild at Heart, but maybe this was made
no, it wasn't that he was too method, it was that he improvised too much.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I guess it's a small line between those, but I guess
sure.
And also this is the same year, so this is still the 1990 year when he did 4 movies. So
yeah,
and the one that made him stop improvise was the last one, Wild Heart, and it could have been recorded before this one.
Exactly. But Eric Anderson has mentioned in interviews, it's here on IMDb, that the scene where he's painting on her body with paint, He says here, Cage. She says, since Cage is an actor who loves improvisation, right? To show the domination of the male over the woman, he put in such brutality and such participatory violence that I was terrified. I felt really violated. We had to stop shooting and do it all again the next day. The rushes were pure pornography. They traumatized me. It was just unfortunate.
It must have been severely cut down, because based on what we see in the movie in that scene, I can't even see how that could have been.
Yeah.
So I guess it must have been a lot bigger scene or a lot longer.
Yeah. That kind of stuff always really puts a damper on the movie. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
It's like the whole, what's it called, Last Tango in Paris. I don't remember the actress's name, but she was basically raped by Marlon Brando. It was just like, ugh.
Oh,
she has later, though, gone back on that when she was older, but, still, it traumatized her at the time, so.
Yeah.
That kind of ruins, because that's a good movie. Kind of similar to this, because it's also an erotic, not thriller, but I guess erotic drama. But that's a pretty good movie. But then you hear about that and you're like, oh, damn it.
Yeah. Well, at least this isn't a good movies.
No, exactly. Yeah, at least it didn't ruin a good movie. If that's any consolation.
But yeah, that's about it that you can find about it. It's, again, they stole a lot from this French book. It's also some kind of trivia.
Oh, yeah.
And this French book is, it's about sort of the same thing, but in the 1800s. So, the daughter of a French sea captain and an Algerian mother, and then she's married away, and then she gets a relationship with someone else who isn't her husband, sort of. So and apparently it steals a lot of scenes just straight out of that book. Maybe these scenes that feels weird, like the dancing scene. I don't know.
Yeah. Because that would have been super controversial in the 1800s. Two men dancing.
Yeah, and then it's didn't get a good reception. Nobody liked it at the time. Nobody likes it still.
Yeah, I can see
kind
why.
Kind of a movie.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even theatrically released. It's got a video premiere, July 18th, 1991 in America.
I did read that someone said, it's kind of a late review, obviously, but that said that this one was up there with Wicker Man. Big disagreement to that one.
Yeah.
So
I saw something similar from someone wrote for the AV Club that I'm going to argue that it's a secret success, especially for Cage buffs. It's that one. It's right up there with Wicker Man on the Nicolas Cage guilty pleasureometer. A lost camp gem filled with inadvertent hilarity and populated by heavyweight actors who would go on to do great things. It's not campy. Sure, I laughed like a couple of times, but I wouldn't call it like, ooh, it's so bad it's good. No, it's just boring and bad.
Yeah, I mean, the only places I actually laughed in this movie and actually enjoyed the movie, that was because there are a few times where Nicolas Cage is so Nicolas Cage.
Oh yes, he's very cagey in a couple of scenes.
It can be the Nicolas Cage best entrance of all time, I think, into a movie.
Yeah?
You just see his silhouette with that weird Nicolas Cage pose in a doorway. And then he does a headbang for no reason. And I saw this, the minute I saw it, I was like, that's Nicolas Cage. And it was Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. That's true. And he does rage a couple of times.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he's acting with Zach Galligan from Gremlins, another movie Judge Reinhold is in, who is in two scenes as an art collector or art dealer.
Right. Oh, right. That's where I remember him from.
Yeah.
I recognized him, but I couldn't place him anywhere. All right.
And he goes up to his studio and like, yeah, this stuff is okay. And then he's like, he just explodes like, well, fuck you, get the fuck out of here. I'm better than Einstein or whatever he says. I don't remember. And then Gallagher just stands there and he's like, "You want a cup of coffee?" "No, I'm gonna go. All right, see you later."
No. He says, "Get the fuck out of here!" And then he starts.
Right.
Then he walks out of scene, and Nicolas Cage goes like, "You want a cup of coffee?" He's like,
he says,
"No,
no, thanks.
Already away.
Yeah,
Already
okay.
leaving."
Bye.
Yeah.
And when Zandalee says, like, "This is not the place to do this," and when in the church, he's like, well, fuck, shit, and he rips his shirt open.
Yeah, so there was some good Nicolas Cage moments.
Yeah, but not enough. It's not like Wicker Man. Wicker Man is every other minute something insane happens.
Yeah, and it's always Nicolas Cage.
It's always Nicolas Cage, yes. So this is not like a camp cult classic. Do not believe them.
No.
Watch Vampire's Kiss then instead.
Yeah.
We discussed that not actually being so bad that it's good, but it's definitely badder and gooder than this.
Yeah. Again, one of those movies, this one, that it's in the middle.
Yes.
It's not as so good that it's actually good, and it's not so bad that it's enjoyable. It's just
It's blah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see there could be a value in this movie if you were 13 in the 90s.
Sure.
I mean, I guess. But that's the only place it has, I'd say.
Yeah. It doesn't transcend the smut. That's really the only thing you think about when you think about this. It's not like, well, yeah, it's kind of explicit, but it's a beautiful story and greatly acted. No, it's just it's okay, and there's a bunch of naked bodies. So I guess if you like that.
There's a title for a user review on IMDb, which I think really says it perfectly. Gratuitous nudity livens up a dull melodrama.
Sure.
I think that explains it.
Yeah.
Then it's up to it's subjective if you think that livens up a movie, but I mean that's what it is. Gratuitous nudity and a dull melodrama.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
And kind of pretentious without earning its right to be pretentious. It should be pretentious. It's about a poet and a painter. Why wasn't there more pretentious dialogue?
Yeah, I mean, there was one scene which I was when I saw. Well, there was a scene which is a part of a scene. When I saw it, I was just, yes, that's how this entire movie should be.
Is it the bar scene?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's when Zandalee comes home from I don't know, she's been out having sex with Johnny, I think.
I guess, yeah.
That's usually what she does when she's not at home. So, she comes home and you see, I already forgot. Terry.
Yeah.
You just see him sit in like this, he sits in a chair in this awkward, hunched over angle.
Oh, yeah.
Listening to experimental jazz in the dark, and she comes in and he just responds with like a poem line.
Oh yeah.
And I was just, yes, this is how the entire movie should be. Just people standing and sitting alone talking about poetry and art and be super pretentious about it.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been. And then I wouldn't say it was a bit of good, but I would have got it. I would have got the point.
It would have made more sense. Because now it just feels like it's a bunch of filler between sex scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately. I'm reading from that review, gratuitous nudity livens up dull melodrama. Talking about, the only interesting stuff is the sex scenes. But then the last line is, on the downside, you also have to see Judge Reinhold's butt. Not such a pretty sight.
Gotta emphasize how straight you are when you write the review. That's important.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes sacrifices have to be made.
So I think that's sort of it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we should. I guess we should discuss Nicolas Cage more specifically. I guess we already have, but because we mentioned he does rage a couple of times, but this was I don't know. What did you think of him in this? I'm torn.
I mean, he was definitely Nicolas Cage. He did a Nicolas Cage role.
Yeah.
With all the good and the bad that entails. We had some fun Cage, but we had mostly the dull downer drama acting Cage,
yes.
which is not a main character. He is again put in the friend role that he did so much in the beginning of his career.
Oh yeah.
And he's not good in that role. If he's gonna play this dull, not down to earth is the wrong word, but dull character, then he needs to be the main character, so we actually get to know him better.
Yeah.
In this one, he's just boring, except the few times he explodes as Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, he's fine. I did really like the costume for him.
Yeah. His whole look was very good.
Yeah, it suited him great. This weird half rocker, half mullet hair, and the goatee and the mustache and the black leather jacket, and then also when he paints, he has these weird glasses that weirdly fit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked how he looked. That was a great job.
Yeah, I specifically liked his hair because I have a thing for mullets. But I was disappointed towards the end when you can see that he at least has extensions in. It's not all his mullet, unfortunately. But
and you felt
I felt betrayed, bastard. No, but yeah, but he had a very distinct look. I mean, you even mentioned that his profile in the first scene he's in is like, that's the guy. You just know he's a bad boy. He's dangerous. He just exudes that kind of energy. So in that way, I think he did a good job. But then the material he had to work with, not exciting.
I mean, yeah, that's true. He did a great job. But I think that he had nothing to work with.
Exactly.
Because I think his part of the scripts was just line was I want to fuck, and then they fuck, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then Nicolas Cage improvises some. That's every part of the script for him, and I think that's not much to work with.
No, it's kind of one note, which is it's so weird to say when it's supposed to be a movie about two pretentious artists, a painter and a poet, but they're all so flat and boring.
Yeah, specifically in the beginning, because when he is introduced, there we get some flesh on the bones. We get some when they talk about this, that he didn't actually go to art school. He pretended to go to art school. He just used his tuition money to buy painting supplies and paint for himself, and he lives for the painting and for the art, and he can't breathe it out. And then we just drop that, and no, he's just a sex person. Yeah, that's all he is.
I gotta keep painting, otherwise it all turns to shit. It's like, yes, that's a cool guy. But then we just drop it. Yeah, and he gets a job at Judge Reinhold's place just to pay the bills. So for a while he's just doing that. He's not even painting. It's unfortunate. I really thought this was going to be an interesting movie.
Yeah. It definitely have potentials, and I would not be against a remake of this movie.
Oh yeah, this is a perfect movie for a remake.
Yeah.
It's a good concept, flawed execution, and it wasn't a big hit, but it's obviously a movie people have seen at least. So there is that it's a story you could retell, and it's a pretty timeless tale. It's not like it's a 90s story. This could be told now in the 90s or in the 1800s, obviously.
So, yeah. So just remake this movie. Go deep in the pretentiousness of it. Just go fucking deep as fuck into it.
Flesh out the characters.
Maybe make every character just speak the exact lines from the 1800s novel.
Yeah,
something
that
like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Just like the Romeo plus Julia thing. Something like
yeah.
that. I mean, just go all out pretentious, and this could work. This could work. But as it is, no.
No. Not good.
Yeah. So, what are you gonna give it for score?
Let me pull up our scoreboard, see what I have here, because I don't wanna give it too high of a score or too low of a score. I mean, it's definitely better than Firebirds. That's what we measure after now, because that's the worst one by far. It's better than that, but it's I would say it's like a 4.
I actually
It's
just
slightly
mentioning
below mediocre.
I have lowered my score for Firebirds.
Oh, okay.
I have lowered it.
You gave it a 3. What was it before? A 4?
A 4.
Okay.
I give it.
Yeah, I'll give this a 4.
Yeah. I'm gonna give this one a 4.
Yeah.
2. Yeah, it is a 4.
Slightly below average.
Yeah. I mean, if this movie was on TV, I was like doing dishes, I wouldn't immediately change channel.
No, yeah, you leave it on.
I would if it was Firebirds.
Oh yes, I would unplug the TV just to make sure.
Just to make sure.
Yeah. Ugh, that one's terrible. Ugh.
Yeah, but it was interesting because I talked with a friend about this movie, and just so yeah, we're gonna see Zandalee. She was like, "Oh, that was kind of a bad movie. You heard of it?
Oh,
what? People heard of this movie? I never heard of it." And
well, yeah. What?
Yeah, just that
okay.
Apparently people heard about it, even though it isn't available in Sweden and it never have a theatrical release.
Yeah, well, yeah. Someone obviously did watch it because it has reviews, but it's another one of those. And as we're moving along in his career, it feels like this is so far into it's 10 years into his career now almost. And he's still like making movies that like kind of disappear. I can understand in the beginning, even though it's kind of weird, like Racing with the Moon is kind of forgotten, even though it has Sean Penn. But now in 91, after he made it, well, I guess it's the same year, so it could have been made before, like you mentioned. But after he's been in a David Lynch movie, then a movie Nicolas Cage is in is just forgotten like this. It's weird.
Yeah, but I don't think where we are now in his career, it feels like he's tried a lot of things. We have talked about a lot of times, but now it feels like he tries to go a more serious route or a more like drama thriller route.
Yeah.
If we think about like Time to Kill, Wild at Heart, and Zandalee now, they all sort of have the same vibe in a way.
Sure, yeah.
The same ballpark at least. And I wonder if it's gonna. I feel like it's gonna continue like this for a while.
I don't know, because the next movie we should mention that, because I think we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon.
Yeah.
The next movie he made is Honeymoon in Vegas, or at least it's his first movie that comes up in 1992. And that one seems like a much bigger production. It has James Caan and Sarah Jessica Parker, and it actually has a Metascore, which sadly didn't. And it has a theatrical release. And it looks to be like a witty comedy or something. I'm just looking at the IMDb page. So I know he goes back into more weirder territory with Leaving Las Vegas, but I don't know. Maybe his like arty face is coming to an end with Zandalee. If you look at the list, because after that he does Amos and Andrew, which I know is another comedy. Okay, then Deadfall, which is like an indie movie almost, but it's not artsy fartsy. And then I don't know what Red Rock West is, but Guarding Tess is another like typical mainstream movie. And then It Could Happen to You is like not a classic, but people know about that one at least.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he had that between Time to Kill and here. He, except for Firebird, I suppose. He wanted to do something different, man.
Yeah, I mean, this year has been a weird year for movies released for him. 1990. Time to Kill, Firebirds, Wildheart, and Zandalee. They're sort of in the same vein, most of them. But they are all kind of weird, I wouldn't say indie, but forgotten weird movies.
Yeah.
So maybe just this year was just weird for him. I don't know.
Yeah. It's definitely something going on since he made 4 movies in 1 year.
Yeah. And then the year after this, 1991, he didn't make any movies. He took a year off, I guess. And then in 1992, he made Honeymoon in Vegas, which is next week.
Yes. So we'll see what that's all about. I haven't watched that either. Like we said, there's a lot of movies now. Other than Deadfall and It Can Happen to You and Leaving Las Vegas, I haven't seen any of the movies left in season 1. So
yeah, I've only seen It Could Happen to You.
Well, that's Zandalee.
Yeah, that's about it.
It was a big disappointment. I for some reason had high hope. For reasons I told, I thought it was going to be a good movie, but it wasn't. It could have been a good movie, but no.
I would say honestly, this is sort of what I expected.
Okay.
I did not think it's going to be that interesting. It felt like, and it was a standard romantic 90s drama tragedy thing.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. Well, hopefully Honeymoon in Vegas is better. It doesn't look very good, but who knows? Who knows? So I want to say thank you so much for listening. Wherever you're listening to this, we are of course available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, really. If you want to hear these episodes well in advance, check us out on Patreon. For $3 a month, you get all the episodes weeks in advance. You also get other stuff like exclusive episodes to my other podcasts. You get commentary tracks, videos, a bunch of stuff. So check that out. But until next week, check out Honeymoon in Vegas so you can join us in the conversation, so to speak. That is pre-recorded, but still. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
The Nicolas Cage podcast is part of Please Don't Make a Scene. It's produced, directed, and edited by Tobias Widén. Hosted by Tobias Widén and Christopher Billén after an original idea by Christopher Billén. Executive producer is Annika Widén. And a big thank you to all our sponsors over at Patreon for keeping the show going. Laura Kinney, Rasmus Jonsson, Mom, and Dad. If you also want to join our Patreon, you can at www.patreon.com/don'tmakeascene. Help us keep the show going.